course, farming is my second job, and I don't have time to get all these cattle in the spring, so usually what I do, I usually winter about 150, quit through the colder months, get started back into January. I always try to be finished by the 1st of April. I don't know if that's a good idea. And of course, you hopefully get 300 or better pounds on the cattle. As you can see, these cattle here, they probably come in 1st of November. They'll be about ready to go here at 1st of August. And looking at them, there's 72 head here. Time you sort of load out, they'll weigh well over 9. These cattle come in at 584 pounds. I started off with heifers, and of course, I've got a cow-calf man on this side, got a cow-calf man up here, and of course, always got the bull somewhere. So, and then of course the steers, my belief, the steers seem to put on more. They'll put on more. They'll cost a little bit more. And the last couple of years, you buy a little bit of everything. Of course, buy bulls or steers. They all end up steers anyway. But anyway, we tried to concentrate more on black cattle. That's what the market wants. There's some of the Charolais are all right. Red cattle, I've got one red steer this year. A heck of a steer, good conformation. But people just don't want red steers. Well, my ultimate goal was to get started in November, win a few cattle, get out of the business into September, give myself a couple of months to do other things besides run cattle. But of course now it's run into a year-round operation. Last cattle will probably go out sometime in October, and so I'll basically hold all of them close to a year. Of course, the majority of these cattle come from Tri-State Livestock Market. Sales on Friday. Those cattle are held here in this lot till Saturday morning, and it's very seldom that I don't get to them Saturday morning. I get them. Of course, they've got plenty of fresh water and something to eat. First thing Saturday, they get a shot of Hendrickson, a shot of Bovill Go 1 shot, black leg, and worm. And last year I went with the long range wormer. And the first load of cattle that went out last year weighed 1,049 pounds. They come in at 580 in November. So to do that the first day they come in, of course you have to castrate them, worm them, and then I put them this holding lot. And 90% of the time, if they're going to get sick by Wednesday or Thursday, if you have anything sick, it's going to show up by then. I start them off with a little bit of hay, or I start them off with a lot of hay. Put enough hay in there where they're not crowded. Start off on a little grain, and as the week goes on, keep increasing the grain as they eat it. And usually by the next Saturday, when the other cattle come in, I get them every weekend. These cattle here will actually call, so I'll turn them out, and the next set will go in. And of course, having your cattle to call in all the time I think is a key factor. If something's sick, something's staying behind, he'll stand out immediately. And I'll keep rotating them till I usually like to run anywhere from 50 or 60 head in a herd. After I get this full, then I'll move them across the road. There's 100 acres or 75 acres over here, so I'll have that bunch, 60 head ready, easy to feed, easy to take care of. And as the year progresses, I've got 4 different spots I take cattle, so they all eventually head out. And these cattle here, I always try to keep the bigger set here. They'll be the first to go out because they're handy. And as the season progresses, I'll keep bringing cattle in and sorting them. And usually try to, I found out trying to stay close to your load. You don't need 30 or 40 left over if you stay close to your load, because 10 or 15 that's left over, they're the ones that usually break in this kind of market, either break even or lose money. Of course, I think this year, the way things are looking, they'll be lucky to even break even as a load. Okay, well, of course I do. I buy some of the cattle myself, but I do have an order buyer. He's an elderly man. Of course, we're all getting elderly. He'd rather go at the market and sit all day, and he don't get in a hurry. If for good cattle, he'll buy you however many you want. But now, and he's paid by the head. But now, if they're not good cattle, he'll come home and won't make a penny. Or well, I've got a base price for him. But anyway, and like I say, these cattle here, 90% of them come off the tri-state livestock market. And I try to follow the VQA program. They're sold on the Virginia Cattlemen's Association. Used to you had buyers come by all the time. Now this thing is leaned toward the teleauction. You got so many more buyers gathered in one place, and it's more competition for what to see. It seems to be working well for me. Before, the buyer comes out, looks at the cattle, something goes wrong, I'll get back with you, I'll do this. You're sitting on prices is falling, you're sitting there on the cattle, and you're ready for them to go. Well, he keeps putting you off, and with the teleauction, you get them sold that night, you're locked in, and it's over with. Once that night when they're sold, it would suit me to get them the next morning. But a lot of times, most of them, everybody gets in 10-day range, but as soon as they're sold, I'm ready for the cattle to go. I'll sort these, I'll sort them. There's 72 head in here. I'll sort them out, pre-weigh a couple loads to make sure I got my weight somewhere close to my base weight, and go with that. Well, these cattle here are a little bit more uniform than the ones across the road. That's kind of if anything gets out, it ends up back in the home boundary. But anyway, I've got enough to sort of tractor trailer out of the bigger cattle. I would say these cattle here is more uniform. I've got enough cattle between over here and here to make 2 tractor and trailer loads. They'll be the first to go. And hopefully get the cattle off here by end of August, and then won't have anything back on this till 1st of November. Get plenty of grass to go in the winter. Of course, all of them's got ear tags in them. Of course, all of them don't stay. And the rest of them's got notches in their ears. A friend of mine's, I've got an M under the right ear, which is an easy mark to make. The other one, that could be Mike, since my name's Mike, or as Kemp Gilbert says, that could be stands for money. I don't know. But anyway, I come up with a combined marking, so they'll stand out wherever they go. Well, death loss, I've been very fortunate. I think last year I lost 2 out of 300. This year I've lost 2 out of 238 or something. And of course, I think that receiving shot, the Hendrickson bringing them in, like I told you earlier, once these cattle's in, they're in this lot here, you start feeding them. If they get sick, they'll get sick within that first week. I usually go back with a little stronger dose of Hendrickson after that. And of course, I'm a big believer in aspirin. These big aspirin boluses, knock that fever down. And then if that don't help, I usually go to Exceed. I change my medicine. Like I say, year before last, I had 300 and something, and no death loss. Well, most of them, all of them. Of course, I always take feed anytime I go check on them. As you can see, even in sometime I'll take a couple of sacks of feed to keep them called in. Of course, they're not getting enough feed to help them any, but it definitely keeps them calmed in, keeps them gentle. In the wintertime, it's mostly hay and gluten, and try to do hay and gluten, 4 pounds of gluten, 5 a day, and then hay. Mineral, I'm firm believer in straight. I don't feed any straight salt, or it's all trace mineral. Well, going back to the futures, it's coming to that. You got so much money tied up in these cattle, you can't afford to take a loss at it. Of course, this year, and I talked to my broker. Of course, it was in March. I'd already got the cattle bought, but at that point, the futures were so low. I mean, there wasn't no place to go unless you wanted to buy contracts and bet on them going forward. But as I told you earlier, I bought and sold contracts before, and I'm not saying that I didn't do it as a farming investment. I was just gambling, and so that didn't work out so good. So, but it's coming to the point that you're gonna have to buy. You're gonna have to do some kind of contract on them. And of course, there's insurance on them that you can take out, which I've not got into that, but. Of course, it's my belief right now. Of course, export market's down. Too many cattle. I guess we'll cycle through it. Maybe the dollar's stronger. First of all, you'd think less numbers is going to help, because everything got so high 2 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, everybody put all these heifers back, and I'm sure those heifers are coming on now. It's cow increasing in numbers. Of course, your dollars got stronger and your exports dropped off. I think as a producer watching this thing for 2 years, and hopefully these calves got cheap enough. The cattle's not going to make anything this year. Probably lose money. They lost money last year, but I think we're at the bottom of the cycle. I think that the calves will be cheap enough this fall to where they will be money made on them next year. I've been in this 30-some years, not made money every year, but it's made some pretty good money. And I love taking care of the farm and doing the actual work. So I'm hoping we're at the bottom of the cycle and we'll start cycling back up.